AdYack.
You're listening to AdYack. AdYack is the official podcast of the AAF Greater Lehigh Valley Ad Club. Our mission is to inspire creativity and enhance the professional development of the advertising and marketing communities where we live and work. I'm your host, Bill Childs, and I'll talk with artists, designers, writers, directors, photographers, along with those who work in a creative capacity. Our aim here is to serve as a creative resource to help you stay informed, entertained, and above all, inspired. But first, I want to thank ASR Media. We appreciate your support and collaboration. Today on the podcast, I get to interview someone who has forged a career out of always putting herself in the best light. Someone who knows the power of the pivot and whose energy is off the charts. You could light a city with the wattage that emanates from her presence. I'm talking, of course, about Kate Hughes. Kate is one of those people that you only need to meet once to realize she's impossible to forget. Kate and I yak it up on a variety of topics that include the double-edged sword of being an overthinker or how gratitude can be a strong catalyst for change once you fully embrace it. This interview took place at the end of a very exhausting week for both of us. Kate was undeterred. Even though it would have been easy to reschedule, Kate felt we should forge ahead. Boy, am I glad we did. Kate's infectious attitude provided enough energy for both of us, as I got to experience some of that energy during our AdYack. Our topics range from the power of personal reinvention to how we could all benefit from a little empathy from time to time. I learned that she's proud of her ability to put an efficient team together and is always ready to engage her creative side when solving life's challenges. She's tenacious, passionate about her family and friends, and has an intense determination when it comes to getting things done. I was grateful for the time I got to spend talking to Kate. She's on a mission, and she's not stopping until she gets where she wants to go. And she'll do it with style and with a giant smile on her face. Here is my AdYack with Kate Hughes. Kate Hughes, welcome to AdYack.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Absolutely. I've been looking forward to talking to you for a while. For a while, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had you speak to my class at LCTI, so that kind of even like, oh, I'm definitely getting her on the podcast now after that, because that was fun. I hope you had fun that day.
I had so much fun. I have to be honest, I'm a yes man. So I'm like, yeah, I'll do this, I'll do that. And then I get there, and as I'm, parking my car, I'm like, what did I sign up for? Are these kids going to like eat me alive? And I was pleasantly surprised because I don't have children, I'm not really around kids. So I don't know what they're like these days, but your students are awesome. Really.
You did great. You did really great. And one of the things that you said that really stuck out with me among many things, and I want to ask you about it first here, is you said, always put yourself in the best light. Always make sure that you're in your best light. And talk to me about that. How do you do that? How do you make sure you're always in your best light?
I always try to have grace and give grace to people. So I have been as an adult in situations where they're less than pleasurable. And I don't react right away. I kind of sleep on things so I can mentally process, which is kind of a blessing and a curse. When someone shocks me, I don't know why, but I can't respond. I have no response. I'm just shocked, which has served me well because then I can come back after processing the emotions and sort of deal with the situation. So that's part of it. If you're in a situation where it's not comfortable, my experience has been to not react out of emotion. And as far as presenting yourself to the world, you want to dress to impress, dress for the job that you sort of want, not the one that you necessarily have. And I always treat everyone the same. I treat everyone with respect because I know that's how I want to be treated. So I just go into a room knowing that everyone's equal in my eyes, in my mind, and I try to be kind to people. And that has also served me very well because in times when I need kindness, it has come back to me tenfold. So, and that's not the reason that I did it, but it's one of the added benefits. I
think it's a really interesting point because you never know who's watching.
Right.
You never know who's watching. And I don't think I don't think a lot of people understand that. I really don't, because if they did, I think they'd behave a little bit differently, even on social media, because if they
Right.
almost just think like they're just sending these things to their friends. And then it's like, no, potential employers could see it,
Yes.
other people could see it. And sometimes I just see some things from people that I just think like, man, you're not going to be able to take that back. That is out there now. It's not
Right. I
like you
just
can
close
call
the
it back.
computer.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
Yeah.
Close the computer and it goes away. So, I witnessed you in a lot of situations before I knew you, really. And every time I saw you, I was like you look like you were having fun. You look like you were like you were really into what you were doing. And that resonated with me. And I remembered that, because
Oh,
so many people they go to these events, and you've been to all these events. It's sometimes it's a lot of the same people, it's the same crowd. How do you show up for that every time, shiny, ready to kind of like engage? But my interactions or non-interactions, just watching you, I always saw you kind of like lighting up the room, if you will, and
oh.
that's what stuck with me. So when I was started to think about who can I bring in to talk to my students, that's when I remembered those things that when I witnessed you do those things, I thought she'd probably be really good. And then I reached out to you and asked you. That was really kind of our first
Oh.
interacting, right?
Yes, it was. Yeah. And as you were saying that, that brought up other things. When I'm talking to somebody at an event, I give them my complete and undivided attention. And I know we've just said it, that we've been at all these events and people come up, you're talking to somebody and they're doing this. I never look at them.
Mm,
I always just keep my eye on the prize. Like I pay attention to people because they're giving me time and I want to give them the same time and respect that they're giving me. So, and I always do that at events. I just am with the person that I'm talking to in the moment, and then I'll move on when it's over.
that's one of the best things you can give someone is your full attention,
Yeah.
right? It's one of the most
Oh, yeah,
precious things you could
absolutely.
give. Yeah.
It's the worst when you're talking to somebody and they're like, oh, oh yeah,
Oh,
and
terrible.
okay, I'm not important. So,
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
I don't want that to happen to me, so I don't do that to other people.
Right, right. And if you realize, a lot of times I wrote a column about this once about listening. I said, the art of listening really is the key to effective communication. It's
Absolutely.
listening, because most of us are waiting to respond. We're not really listening. We're waiting for our chance to jump in and finish, that thought, right?
I reference that as double Dutch.
Yeah.
You're waiting to jump in, and you can tell those people that aren't really listening.
I also loved what you said to the class was you talked about your first job.
Yes.
Um, and again, I'm going to let you tell it, but I just think it's so people just, they want that. They come out of school, and if they don't get that corner office, it's almost like, wow, I failed, like, what's the use? So talk about how you interacted with your first job, and how you kind of transcended the role. And I just loved how you, kind of talked about that.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, yeah. So I was 14 actually back in the day. I think when you could work when you were 14, and I started at McDonald's. My dad operated, I think, 8 different McDonald's restaurants. So all the kids in our family, that was like our first job.
Mm-hmm.
And growing up, I was painfully shy, painfully shy. I could not even purchase something at a counter. I would have to give my brother, I would pick something out, candy or whatever, and give my brother the money to go up to the counter because I was too shy to even have that interaction. And so when I started working at McDonald's, I'll never forget, like, my first day, the manager came out and she was like, okay, just, in front of the whole restaurant, just be like, can I help someone? And I thought, oh my God, I cannot yell across this room.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to do it because it was my job. And I remember being like, can I help someone? But then, you get used to it. And I sort of found my voice that way. I also learned that they put me in drive-through, which I loved. I loved the fast pace of things. I wanted to be the fastest. And we had back 1,000 years ago, I'm going to date myself now, when the value meals first started. I was working at McDonald's and they just were rolling them in. So we had a contest. Whoever could sell the most value meals would win, I don't know, $5 or something in their paycheck. And people would come through and I would say, oh, would you like that in a value meal? Because they would order the sandwich, the drink, and the French fry. And they would, of course, say no, because, as you probably experienced, like, we've never done it that way kind of thing. And I would say, okay. And then I would just put it in anyway. And then they would pull out and I would say, just so you know, I put it in as a value meal. So you're saving 50 cents or whatever it was. And they said,
Right.
oh, okay. So obviously I won the contest because I didn't take no for an answer, because I just thought they're going to save money. Who says no to sort of saving money? So it really taught me how to be a salesman, really, and to have confidence and to find my voice and be able to communicate with people. Teamwork, absolutely. It taught me so many things. I actually can't believe it looking back at the golden arches. But yeah, my first job was at McDonald's. And then out of college, like you said, I didn't nail down that corner office either. I waitressed for a while, and you make your way, you meet people, and right places, right times kind of thing. And here we
I
are.
would say you used a little creativity on that value meal there, right?
I certainly did. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I worked at McDonald's in high school as well.
I know you did.
I
Crazy.
actually I was fortunate in that I got to open the one at 15th and Tillman. Still there.
Oh.
So that was an interesting. It was me and my buddy. We were both Deerhoof guys, and that's Allen territory.
Mm.
So what was interesting about that experience was we got to know a lot of people at Allen, because it was all Allen kind of teenagers that worked there. And here we were, the two Deerhoof guys, and they accepted us, and we were fine, and we all got along. But it broadens your horizons. It's like now we know people at Allen. And as a Deerhoof person, that's a big deal, because
That's true.
that's the
Yeah.
crosstown rivalry. But here we were working as teammates, and it was like, hey, you know what, these people are pretty cool, and they're like, hey, you guys are pretty cool. So it was fun, and I got to do it all. So I did the drive-through, I did the grill, I did maintenance,
Wow.
I scraped the pickles off the that were flung by the Rocky Horror Picture Show players, because that's the McDonald's they would go to after the Rocky Horror Picture Show showing at the midnight movies. And
And they would throw pickles.
they would fling pickles and all kinds of stuff at the pictures, and I was the guy that would go and scrape them off the next
Scrape
morning,
them off.
and all
Wow.
the ketchup packs that were splattered against the everywhere. Yeah, it was kind
I
of.
remember the ketchup packs. Yeah. I never did grill. No one has ever asked me to cook for them, just for the record. I do not thrive in the kitchen.
I love that experience. I really did. I had fun doing it, and
Yeah.
you don't think about it at the time. I remember kind of telling my buddies, like, as I was like, I'm not working at McDonald's. Whatever we do, I'll work anywhere but McDonald's. And there I ended up at McDonald's, and I
Yeah.
liked it, and I learned from it. I learned a lot of stuff from it
Oh,
that
for sure.
when you look back, just what you were saying, those things are there.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, Kate. How do you stay positive in difficult situations?
Experiencing something right now, and people say, when you're going through a hard time, they always say this, and when you're going through it, like in the moment, as
Mhm.
for me, it's not what I want to hear. They say, when
Right.
one door closes, another one opens, and you know that in your
Sure.
head, that makes sense. But when you're in the thick of it, I don't know, that's just kind of not what I want to hear. But I journal every single day,
Oh,
every
wow.
morning. I don't know if you're familiar with the Artist's Way,
Yes.
uh, Julia
Leah
Cameron.
Cameron.
Yeah. And she says 3 pages, every day, even if you don't know what to say, you just write, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say.
Hmm.
That has really helped me get everything out. And I have a radio show, and that's another another therapy session for me. I kind of write down things that I think about during the week, jokes, funny billboards, things like that. And then I just, unleash the beast when I get that microphone in front of me. But I definitely, I do yoga, working out. Those things really help calm my mind. But I just know that if you're going through something difficult, it's just temporary. It doesn't feel like it, but you have to just keep reminding yourself, this is temporary. This will not be like this always. I will climb this mountain. And that has always been my mindset. And when people kind of put in your head like, oh yeah, I don't think you'd be able to do that, which people have said to me. I use it as fuel. I definitely use that negativity, and I think, okay, let me show you exactly what I can do. And I always think that, massive success is the best revenge out there. And you can do it with class and style. You don't have to rub it in anybody's face, but and I do the things that make me successful. Obviously those things are for me. It's not because someone said something, but it's a little bit of fuel that I get from people. I kind of spin their negativity and just use it as a jumping off kind of post.
I have a quote for that. I say, sometimes you can draw more inspiration from the people who don't believe in you than from the ones who do.
Yes. I don't know why that is, but that's very true.
It's the same with me. Same here. All you have to do is tell me I can't do something, and I'm going to work 10 times as hard to prove you wrong.
Yeah,
So
I wonder what that is.
it's a blessing when someone says, really? I don't see you doing that.
Yeah.
Hold my beer. I'm about to show you.
Yeah.
I remember this very one specific incident. I was working at the morning call. I was a proof messenger. Now, this is someone, they don't even have this job anymore. This is basically what PDFs do now, right? You send a PDF to a client so that they can like correct the ad. In the day that I was at the morning call, we drove the proofs. We drove the proofs around and waited.
Driving in a car?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
There were 4 people that went out like across the valley, north, south, east, west with the proofs, and they had to be 24 inches and above. It wasn't every ad, it had to be 24 inches and above. And we'd take our non-photo blue pen, and then we'd go to markets and all kinds of places, and they would mark up the ads. That's how ads got corrected. And anyway, so one time I was applying for the copy and layout position job, which was a copy and layout artist. And most people were supportive. They were kind of like, oh, wow, that's really nice. Like, they didn't know my background. They didn't know that this is what I had studied at LCTI and Votech. I had commercial art. Like, I had that background. I just hadn't found a job yet that would allow me to do it. So here I was with an opportunity. And I remember one girl said, you're a proof messenger. They don't hire proof messengers to be artists. And I remember thinking like, oh, I'm going to prove you wrong.
Just what
I did. And I did.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to, like you said, I didn't have to go back and say anything. I just let my success do the talking, because I got the role, and I ended up doing it for 10 years, and I loved it. And that was even before the Macintosh computers came on in 96. But yeah, I don't know where that comes from, that ability to, when someone says, are you sure? I don't see you in that. And if you, that's all I need to hear. And I'm
Me too. Yeah. I'm same cloth. Cut from it. Yep.
Yeah. But to your point though, with handling the disappointment, I think a real big game changer for me is gratitude, is really like stopping and saying, okay, all right, things are really not where I want them to be right now. But what do I do have that I'm grateful for? And there it is. That's the list that I started to look at. And this was, I remember right before COVID happened and on all the shutdown and everything. And I just really started leaning into my gratitude. Like, I really started looking, and I didn't have to look hard. If I got up in the morning, I was like, well, there you go. I'm up, I'm breathing.
Number 1, I'm alive.
Walking. Right. Before you get out of bed, you can probably have 3 things on your list already. 4, right? You get down, you have a cup of coffee. Gratitude. I'm drinking a cup of coffee. Right. And then you just start your day. And I'll tell you what, as silly as that might sound, it works.
No, I'm a firm believer. I failed to mention that. Yeah. At the end, I write everything that I'm grateful for. And you're right. When you're in a bad spot, you're like, okay, I'm grateful that I have the ability to walk, like to use my limbs. That's like bare bones. But yeah, there is a lot to be grateful for. And I do see that with people, if you look at these people and that you think, oh, they have everything and they have this wonderful life, but they're not happy. And it's kind of like there's a laser focus on that one thing or that couple of things that they don't have. And that's where they put their energy when they have like a plethora of all these things that they should be grateful for. And I think you're absolutely right. I make sure that every night before you go to bed, you're supposed to do it. I do it in the morning. And you just write down, I am grateful for, I am grateful that, and you're supposed to read it out loud. And when I did that at night, it was like a magic wand, Bill. I swear, good things started coming
Mm-hmm.
to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to get back to doing it at night, because there's just something to that. I think when you just go to bed on that emotional high, it
Yeah.
I don't know, it just does things to your brain while you're sleeping.
Well, it's, I think it's energy. I think it's the energy that you're putting out into the world, into the universe. If your energy is so intense that you're frustrated or you're angry, it's gonna push people away. Where if
Right.
you're more grateful, things can fall onto you.
Yes.
Things can come your way because you're open to it.
And you see it more
Mhm.
when you're open to it, for sure.
Yes, 100%. Yep.
How do you do it? Do you write it down, or you just say it out loud, or you just think about it?
I write it down because I always have a Sharpie near me with me and a journal, and I fill up books. I mean, I have like thousands of sketchbooks down in my basement. That I'm going to have to probably move now when I move, but they're all just all my random thoughts go in there, that's how I do it.
That's
Definitely.
how I am. I write everything down, everything in my phone too. I'll write things in my phone when I have like an idea for a
Mm-hmm.
joke or something that I want to write later. I'm just constantly there's notes everywhere. I'm glad I'm glad you understand what that's like.
Oh yeah. And I'll tell you, it even gets even simpler. Like a good night's sleep. A good night's sleep, what a gift that can be, right?
Yeah.
When you can really allow your brain to kind of spin down. And I'm an overthinker. So, and I think you might be as well.
Same. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we don't have a little switch that we can go, okay, brain, I need to kind of stop now. I'm done overthinking for the day or thinking for the day. It doesn't work like that. So a good night's sleep is one. Meditation, as you said, yoga is a good one, to kind of just refocus you, or even an activity that you can do that is not in your your space of what you need to do. For me, painting walls, just paint blank walls. Now, not that I do that every day, but when I do that, I find that it allows my brain to quiet down. I don't know why. It just
That's flow state. You're in flow state. You're
right,
just
right,
getting it done.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Do
here's
you just
another.
randomly paint walls? That's
No, no, no,
amazing.
no,
Come
no, no.
over here.
I look forward to painting walls. So I volunteer to paint walls for people because I know that's going to be an opportunity for me to let my brain, that's this overactive hard drive, kind of calm down.
Good
So
to know. I'm going to call you. What about edging? I
that's
can
where it happens, in the cutting in. I cut in with like razor sharpness.
not me.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love it. My daughter just bought a house, and I went up to look at her house, and I said, hey, who did your ceiling? And because I was looking at it, and it was giving me like PTSD, like
Right.
or my OCD was kicking in, not PTSD. And she then said, "Would you be willing to repaint it?" I said,
You have your ladder. You just pull
"I
your
do.
ladder
I got everything." And I went and I did it, and it was so cathartic for me. Went all the way around, cleaned up the edges. Now
Bless
it's
you.
good. Now
Jeez.
I so that's funny that you mentioned that about how the cutting in.
Oh,
That's my superpower, cutting in.
that's amazing. That's amazing.
I can really do it, and it lets my brain. I give myself a break from being myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just stuck on that because
Yep.
I cannot wrap my head around it. That drives me insane. I can't do it.
Well, because I have to do it because sometimes, it's hard to be an overthinker. It can wear you down.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
A mental tired is so much different than a physical tired, right?
Yes.
Another thing that I
Million
start
percent.
Another thing that I started doing in the mornings that actually helps set the tone for my day, very small, very simple, make my bed.
Yes. Oh my God, that's huge. That's
I didn't do
huge.
that for 30 years. For 30 years, I didn't do that. This is a recent
Really?
3-year thing. Yep. making your bed. And then I figured out, I was doing some research on it. The reason it works is because you're starting the day out with an accomplishment.
Yes. Yeah. And also cleaning the sink in the bathroom. That's a good
Mm,
one.
sure.
Every day, every day, clean the sink.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these are all things that you can do that help set you up for having a better day.
Yeah. And then you come home and your bed's made, your sink is
Beautiful.
clean.
It's a beautiful feeling,
Good
right?
feeling. Yeah.
So I told you my superpower is cutting in. What's your superpower?
It's kind of stupid, but I'll share it with you. I can pick out clothing and know that it's going to fit me perfectly without trying it on.
Wow.
Everyone is amazed by that.
That's,
And I don't think this is a superpower. I'm gonna follow it up with something that's cooler. I
mhm.
can drive stick, and I only buy cars that are stick shift.
That's
They're
awesome.
not even making them anymore. I had the last one, I had to have it brought to me from like another city.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Yeah, I just like having control. But people think when they hear that you can drive a stick shift, people are impressed by that. So I would say that's one of two. I don't have to try clothes on, and I can drive stick. There it is.
Okay. I learned how to do that when I was in high school. And yeah, not that I don't have that. I don't have it in my car now, but I think probably the reason why you like that, I'm just going to throw this out there, is it engages you more in the process of driving,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
You got to be on point. You got to be paying attention to what you're doing. It's not just like, you don't just like put the blinders on, press the gas and go. You got to be committed.
Yeah,
That's a
you have to
lot
be
of,
in it to win it. How
Mhm.
about the old stick shifts? Do you remember being on a hill, like an
Oh yeah.
incline, and you're like, oh my
Oh
God,
yeah. Yeah.
and you're stopped and you please let the car go up. Oh, those were scary times, but they're different now. The stick shifts are now different, that you don't have to worry about that rolling back like you used to.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So here's one for you. What's something that you know now that you wish you knew when you were growing up? A lesson, some type of thing that, a truth that you learned that you thought to yourself, boy, that would have been helpful to know 20 years ago.
There's a couple. First thing, it was my first experience with, I guess, sort of like being bullied. Um, People used to make fun of me for being short. And that would devastate me. If anyone were like, you were short, they would point it out. They always pointed it out. Oh, she's really short. And it just was this thing that I was like, I wish I was taller. And being an adult now, I mean, I can't reach things in the grocery store, of course, and I have a little step stool that I have to pull out in the kitchen, but it doesn't matter how tall you are. I mean, and I wish somebody would have said that to me as a little kid, like, don't worry about height. That doesn't factor
Mhm.
in at all. But a real thing, I, I wish that somebody would have told me, when someone is mean to you in any capacity, no matter what they say to you, it has very little to do with you, and it is mostly about themselves. And when I learned that lesson, which wasn't that long ago, a couple of years ago, it just, I don't know, it just lifted something off of my shoulders. I just felt like, oh, that's about them, and it just took the onus off of me. And I think that information would have been very helpful growing up, for sure.
Interesting. I like that one.
Yeah, because people can be like, people that are cutting you off or like beeping at you, and you're like, oh, and it kind of upsets you. But if you think, oh, they've got something going on,
Mhm.
that has nothing to do with me, kind of thing. It lets it kind of blow by.
Okay. Right. Is
How about
I
you?
Yeah, I think realizing that people have things going on in their life that I don't understand, and that does affect how they are reacting within the world, as
Yeah.
opposed to, so I try to be more empathetic with that, more understanding of, not knowing the battles that other people might be fighting that I don't know about, and,
Right.
I don't want to assume. And I think in the past, I assumed too much, and kind of like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? And almost was like, you should behave like this. Why aren't you doing this? You're wrong for doing this. And that's not me. That's not for me to determine that or judge that. And I think I've gotten better, a lot better with that. Because like you
Oh,
said, people would cut me off back, 25 years ago. I would like lay on the horn. I was that guy. I would like, I want
Yeah,
like
you're
I
rolled
was
back
like
in the
almost like wanted to follow them to their house. I wouldn't throw the
middle.
finger or anything, but I wanted them to know, there was no one behind me, right? Like, what are you doing?
Like, what was that about?
Like,
Yeah.
where are you going? Like, so like in a yeah. So now it's funny because in the past couple of years, as it would happen, it doesn't even bother me anymore. It doesn't even phase me. It's just let it go.
Good. You're in a great place then, for sure.
Yeah, that's the place I want to live. I live in that place.
Good. I would like to move in there. I'm not,
I
I'm not quite there yet.
okay, all right. Let me ask you this then. What about this word has gotten a lot of play in the past couple of years. I don't know if it's because of the old Friends episode where they're trying to move the couch, but
I know you're gonna say
I know it's a great meme. What do you got?
this is seltzer, but I put it in a fancy glass.
Oh, okay. Um, Pivoting, the art
Ugh.
of the pivot.
Master
Um,
pivot right here. Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
I think there's even couple agencies now called Pivot. But so talk to me about that art form of the ability to pivot.
Whew. Again, when you experience loss or when someone pulls the rug out from under you, it is a feeling that I don't love. And I
Mm,
don't think a lot of people do. However, it's happened to me a couple of times in my adult life. And you think like, oh, it's going to be just as hard, or, you'll have to be back in that same place when you have to pivot again. And my experience has been that, yes, there's that initial shock and loss. You think your future is going a certain way, and then surprise, it isn't going that way. And I do feel as though you have to grieve for
mm,
that loss.
mm,
And I think if you think that you can just ignore it and move on to the next thing, and I don't mean like, go on a drinking bender, like, stay in bed for days on end. I don't mean that. I just mean properly grieve it, properly go
mm,
through the emotions, because I have learned that the only way to get to the other side is to go through it. You can't go over it, you can't go under it, you can't cover it up. You have to go through it to get to the other side. And I actually, we talked a little bit offline. I was a dancer my entire life, and there is a dance move that is called a pivot, and it is exactly that. It's just starting to go in one direction and then going in the other direction. And I actually wrote something about it. I posted it on social media about, being a dancer, and, how that helps you be physically and mentally flexible to be able to pivot, to be able
mm,
to do an about face kind of thing. And I think my experience with that art form has definitely helped me to navigate uncharted territory or uneasy waters. And yes, I lose something? Yes, absolutely. I lost something. Is something going in a different way than I anticipated? Absolutely. Will I be sad about it? Yes. Will I stay sad about it? Absolutely not. you know,
mhm,
I am a very blessed and grateful person. The community has stepped up for me. I don't know why, numerous times, and has reached out to me when I have had to pivot,
mhm,
and has had my back, has helped me, said that they would, whatever you need, and they mean it. It's crazy, but I think again, that's just a testament to how I treat people, and that's what people are saying to me. They're like, oh, well, these things are coming to you because of the way that you treat people. And that has been very helpful in, having to do the pivot. But yeah, I think first step is grieve the loss of whatever it is, and then come up with a plan. I write lists. I'm a list maker. I'm a
mm,
checker offer of the lists,
mm,
and ask for help. That is my biggest thing. People say, oh, whatever you need, call them on it. Say, well, here, you said you'd help me, and I need help right now. And I have a firm belief in, asking for the things that I need, want, and am deserving of. And that has served me very well in my life. I've been able to get many things because I've asked for them. And people say to me, like, how do you just ask for things? Well, I figure I'm going in with what I have. And if they say no, I'm leaving with what I have. But if they say yes, I'm walking out with something I didn't have before. So, yeah, if there's something that you want or desire or need to get, go after it and, make those calls, send those emails. Hey, I need some assistance. Do you know somebody that can help me with this? And you'd be really surprised the people that will help you out when they know that you need help. It makes
Mhm.
other people feel good too. I love helping people. I love connecting people. And, I think post pandemic or wherever we are in this pandemic, what is it called? The Great Resignation, people leaving their jobs or changing jobs, and the world is much different than it was in 2019. And I think people are more, they have more empathy for people's situations. And not that I would take advantage of that, and not that I recommend people taking advantage of that, but I've noticed, I've talked to a lot of people in our community. They are vulnerable and they will tell you their story. And I don't take that for granted. And I've seen a lot of good in people. I've seen a lot of struggle, throughout this. And it's made me aware that, I'm not alone. None of us are alone in this. We're all just trying to navigate and figure this out. And at the end of the day, we're all human. And if you surround yourself with good people, I think that's a great way to try to be a successful person. And I don't mean monetarily. I mean successful in going after what you want.
Mhm.
And sort of like making your dreams come true, because other people, they will help you if they know that you need the help. So
Mhm.
ask.
Well, I think it's, the answer is always no if you never ask.
Right. It's
So,
like the lottery. We were like, I wish I won the lottery. Well, then you have to play.
right, they just want to win.
Buy
Yeah.
a ticket.
Hmm. I remember in my creative talks that I would give when I would go out and, for the ad club, and I'd go to colleges and universities, and one of the things that I would do at the end, it would be lessons I learned the hard way. And one of the pieces of advice that I would give the students is, get comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? And I know what that means, but it wasn't until I was laid off, and then 2 weeks later was told I won't be married anymore, where I finally realized, oh, so that's what that statement means. Okay. Yeah, it was like a lesson that I gave out coming back to me and saying, like, now, how's that feel? And it was, I don't recommend that. If you're gonna
No.
do it, do one or the other. Don't do both at the same time.
You're
That's
just
a
showing
lot.
off, Bill.
I know that was yeah, well, that shook me. That really rocked me. And that's where, just to your point about, starting to think, okay, I gotta stay shiny, I gotta stay bright, I gotta stay up, even though, I do this daily quote. I've been doing it for 20 plus years. I used to call it the thought bomb, but the word bomb now doesn't get past the spam filter or the
Okay, don't
filters.
say
So now I have to say, Monday thought or Tuesday thought. But one of the things that I did, because I had a lot of people like on that list over the years, I collected them all, and even with my layoff, I was laid off for 7 months. I got up every day and I still sent that thought bomb. And I know people were like, you could automate that to send automatically. I was like, yeah, I know, but no, I need to get up,
that.
open that laptop, and type that email, type that quote, find it, and send it. And believe it or not, that stupid little thing helped me. It helped me get ready for my day,
Yep, of
because I had to
course.
get up. I felt obligated. I didn't want to just like go away for, however long it took. Because then people would be like, hey, I'm not getting the thought bomb. Where's the thought bomb? What's going on with the thought bomb? And I didn't do it in a way where I kind of was like a cat, in that I went inside myself to kind of deal with this. I didn't put it out on social media that I'm laid off. Oh, and by the way, I'm getting divorced. I just like went internal with it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's a generational thing. I just didn't feel that was like something that I wanted. I didn't feel comfortable putting that out there in that way. So people who knew me knew. And then I just kind of worked the phones, and that's what I did.
Isn't it funny? That has happened to me. Something in your life gets flipped, turned upside down, and your phone. I mean, it's amazing. And people checking in on you,
hmm I
asking
went
you
to
how they can help you. It's incredible. It's a really reassuring feeling too.
hmm I
Yeah,
went to a lot
but
of coffees with people.
yeah.
People were like, "Hey, let's get a coffee." And to me, it was just nice to have people listen and be there for you. For me, of course, I wanted a job out of it, but
Like,
know,
are you hiring?
I know. So I was like, so
Am
this
I
this
hiring?
this coffee doesn't come with a job at the end. Okay.
Right. I was expecting something else.
Yeah, but well, yeah, that's one of the things too that I had to learn over the past couple of years is being more realistic with my expectations.
Yeah. Oh gosh. I think that's huge. I think everybody has to sort of
hmm
reel it in with that too. And I think I mentioned this when I was talking to your kids, like people say to you, "Oh, you can be whatever you want." When you're a little kid, what do you want to be when you grow? You can do whatever you want. Well, I mean, that's true to a certain extent, but you have to work hard for the things that you want. You have to put the time in. And so I was just talking to somebody the other day. My show that I do, that it's called Most Flammable,
Oh,
and
okay.
it's basically about how my life, I at any point I could just spontaneously, burst into flames. And someone said to me the other day that people want to be, he said they want to be set on fire, like, the most flammable thing. He's like, they want that. They want to be set on fire, but they don't want to burn. And I was like, I am writing that down. I'm stealing that.
hmm
And it's true. If you want something, at least for me, I am laser focused when I want something, and I will ask for the things that I need in order to get there. I have no problem. My friends are like, "Oh God, what do I have to do for you now?" I'm like, "Come on,
hmm
come with
hmm
me." um, but I have had open wounds, sort of publicly, that, you know, not great. I had at my one show, all of my tech stuff failed. Everything, my
Oh,
PowerPoint
okay.
just didn't work. I think we sort of talked about that when I was at
Is
your,
this the show? This isn't your comedy. This is
yeah, yeah,
this is your comedy. Okay, all right. Do
yeah.
you do this on a regular basis?
I've done Most Flammable. I think I've done 3 iterations, but I've done 4 shows, all at the Steel Stacks in
Okay.
Bethlehem. And the first show that I ever did, it was just, I had this idea and I went to Steel Stacks, Ryan Hill, who books all the talent there. He's my friend.
I know him well.
And yeah, I'm sure you do.
hmm
And I was like, I have this idea for this show. There's going to be video and photos and blah, blah. And I was like, I know I can sell out. And I never wrote a show or did a show or anything. And he booked me. I lied to him. I hadn't written one word. And he booked me.
Wow.
And the night, I think it was that first show, I think it was, he came backstage and I was nervous. And he said to me, "Kate, now you're going to mess up." And I thought, what kind of pep talk is this? And he said,
He was
but just go
managing expectations.
with it. He's like, but just go with it. He's like, that's what people like about you. And I'm like, oh, they love my failure. No, but he was trying to say, like, don't let that upset you. Obviously there's going to be a misstep, something, you might miss a line or something, but don't let that ruin what you have going on here. I could hear the roar of the crowd. I mean, I sold out
Wow.
my first show, and they asked me to come back and do it again, the same show. I've sold out every show that I've done there.
When are you doing it again?
Yeah. God,
Seriously,
I'm
when are you doing
exhausted.
it again?
Well, I actually started to work with a PR person. So we're going to try to put together a tour. One of my bucket list things is, I love our local community. I very much believe in supporting local. I think it's hugely important. Obviously, it stimulates the local economy. and I want to have a show at the Easton State Theater. It seats 1,500 people.
Mhm.
I want to sell it out. And I just started planning this with my PR person. And
Okay.
she's like, yeah, let's do it. So we're putting together, other acts that can sort of open for me. But yeah, that's my goal. That's my new goal. I really want to do it because, the clock is ticking and no one else is going to do it for me unless I do it for myself. I don't even remember what the question was. Was there a question?
It was about, yeah, you know what? I don't remember. I do know
Okay.
this though. There's a quote that I don't know who said it, but it's one of my favorite quotes. I should know who the author is, but I don't. But it says, "The most powerful weapon on earth is the human soul on fire."
Oh, really?
So you might, I can send that to you. It's
Send that to me.
somebody. I probably use it as a thought bomb over the years, but I love that one. The most
Oh,
powerful weapon on earth is the human soul on fire.
yes, and that we were talking about the show, but yeah, my last show, my PowerPoint presentation, I had horrible problems with it, and it didn't work. It didn't work, and I'm
Mm.
out there, and I'm like, oh my God, how do I get through this? And I just did it. I just pretended. I was like, oh, look at my mom. Doesn't she look great? And it's completely blank.
Oh, right. Okay. Sure. Sure.
And afterwards, people thought that I did that. They're like, that was part of it, right? And I was like, yeah.
Wow, this is interesting.
But it taught me, it was a huge lesson in many ways, but it taught me that, I don't have to rely that heavily on bells and whistles. I mean, I still did an amazing show. People, and you can feel that, when you're a performer, you can feel the energy of the crowd, and they were definitely laughing and engaged, and they were with me the whole time, even though the major part
Mhm.
of my show was not there.
Well, you're your show. You're not, the slides aren't your show. You're the show, you know, right? And you're,
Yeah, I know that now.
yeah, there you go. Okay. So let me ask you this. You're a creative person, right? You use creativity in what you do in your life. Um, how do you navigate the non-creative types that are out there when it has to do with getting things approved or ideas that you want to try, and you just have you run into that a lot, or how do you kind of navigate that
I
world of
have.
like kind of what I'm talking about?
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. I've been accused of being creative. Um, that's what we're called, creatives.
Yeah.
They're like,
Mhm.
we were nervous to work with a creative, which feels like sort of like, I don't know, is that an oxymoron? Why would you be nervous to work with somebody who can think outside the box, who can think a little bit
Mhm.
differently? Um, I always feel when I'm assembling a team for a project, I know my strong suit. Like I said earlier, no one's ever asked me to cook them a meal. No, no. Ask anyone in my family. No one's like, oh, Kate's gonna make us dinner. No one ever would want that. So I know I don't have that skill set, and I don't feel bad about that. That's fine. Um, but I know that I am great with people. I'm a great communicator. So I focus on my skill set and the people that can do the other things, like the tech people, like not my skill set. Um, I feel as though I can have um, a symbiotic relationship with them on a project. And I just say, I'm just very honest. I'm like, you're really good at this, and I need that, and I can do this sort of thing. And I just try to make sure that they know that they're appreciated for what they bring to the table. And because I want to be appreciated for what I bring to the table. And I'm not better or worse than the other person. We work together to make a product or do an event or something. Um, and I look for people that don't have the skill sets that I have, or vice versa. So to answer your question, like, I call them the 9 to 5ers, those people. Um, we
Interesting.
need them. I need them. I love those people, and they just possess a different skill set that I don't have. And you know and we as creatives, can think in a different sort of way, and we can turn a no into a yes if we craft it the right way, or make someone see something from a different perspective. And that has value. And I think that if people think that creative people are less valuable, then they're sorely mistaken. Because, as we go along here, we have to be, look at all the commercials that are out now. There's a lot that are very funny and different than what we had growing up. You remember like the butter commercials, like this is butter and it's delicious. Now
Yeah.
it's like people throwing butter across the room
Mhm.
just to get your attention, to make you see things in a very loud world. So I think creativity is on the rise. But yeah, I have run into that. Like, we were worried about you because you're a creative. I was like, you shouldn't be. You should be worried about you. Why don't you worry about yourself?
Uh-huh. I think it's almost like when you're, I think I'm safe in saying this, when you're someone that leans in hard to your creativity, that's where overthinking does come into play and does serve a role. Okay. Because for me, like when I was working at an agency, I was always kind of like, how do we push this? How do we take this idea and make it even better? Like, it's good now. It's good. It's good. How do we make it great? And then once we get to great, how do we make it exceptional? And then maybe that exceptional, how do we make it unforgettable? Right? That's where you want to live. But that's a lot of hard work, you
Yeah.
know. How do you I just thought of this question right now. How would you explain overthinking to someone who doesn't know what it is? How would you explain it? I'm curious to know how you would explain this.
You just play it again and play it again. It just, I do the thing where, what could I have done to make something better? And I just fixated on it. And I think, I'm a talker, obviously, and my poor husband, I'm like, and another thing, and I'm
Uh-huh.
constantly telling him the same story over and over again, so I can like work it out in my head. So maybe the question is better suited for my husband.
Hmm.
He'll be like, let me
How
tell
do
you about
how do you
overthinking.
deal with an overthinker?
It is good to have somebody that really listens to you and knows how to deal with you. He's not the kind of person that would say, oh, well, when one door closes, another one opens, because he knows it's true. And I know that information. And I'm not saying that that's bad advice. And, I think people say that because they want to say something positive. So I
Mhm.
understand that.
Mhm.
But he's the kind of person who will let me talk, get it out, um, and empathize with me. And he will also, later say, I thought about what you said, and he'll come up with ideas. We come up with things together. We're a great team. It's amazing to like, to like marry your friend. It's awesome.
Well, Kelly and I worked out a thing where when I get into that place, and we both agreed that we would do this, and I think it's exactly the way to go. You ask the person, are you looking for comfort or solutions?
Yeah.
Because there's a difference. There's
Well, yes.
there's times where I just need you to hear me. I
Right.
just need you to hear what I'm saying. That's the comfort, right? If you constantly are trying to do the solution, then it becomes, you're not you get frustrated that you're not listening,
Right.
and you just ask, are you looking for comfort or solutions? And
It's,
it's one or the other. And yeah, it's kind of brilliant. I don't know where I read it somewhere, and I just thought, we're doing this because
yeah.
this works. Yeah, comfort or
It's
solution.
so true. It's so true because, and I think he just inherently knows. He's known me for several years now at this point. He
Mhm.
knows when I need to just, let it out, and he needs to listen. But I wish I could say that to other people. Like,
Oh, why
listen,
not?
I'm looking, I just need to talk. I just need you to listen. I might start doing that, actually, because that would save me some grief. I have actually had somebody, I was telling them, I it just got to like a sort of boiling point,
Mhm.
and I cried.
Okay.
And at the time, I shouldn't have cried in front of this person, because it made them feel like, oh, she's very upset. She's very emotional. And in that moment, I was. And then this person was like, I hate seeing you like this. You take on too much. You do this to yourself. And all those things are true. I take on too much. I put myself in situations that are probably stressful, definitely stressful.
Mhm.
But it's not like I was sitting there thinking like, I wonder how I got here. Like, I know exactly how I did it. I did it. I don't need someone to tell me you did this to yourself. Yes, I know I did that to myself. And what I needed was just someone to listen in that moment, and be sort of empathetic. But what I got was how they are able to sort of navigate and heal. They need it. And he told me, I had somebody in my life that said to me, you messed this up. You did this to yourself. And that worked for him. But that's not how everybody operates and heals and works through things. So
Yeah.
that's what is it? Say it again so I remember. What
Are
do you
you
mean?
looking for comfort or solutions?
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm using that.
Feel
Thank
free.
you.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you this. Would the 8-year-old version of Kate be happy with the current version of Kate?
I worry about answering this question because I do worry about the ego quite a bit. And I need to work on that. I worry that people think that I think of myself a certain way. There, I said it. But with that being said, I think if I went to my 8-year-old self and said, you have a radio show when you grow up and you get to do live theater and you've been in films and you get to be on podcasts, I think her head would pop off. I think I would just be like, are you serious? I would be amazed as my 8-year-old self to know that I've done these things and have accomplished these things. But yeah, I was a little hesitant about answering that question, honestly. But the truth of it is, yeah, I think a lot of people, we just go through, at least I do, go through, you put your head down, get to the next thing, go through the next thing without really sitting back. And this is different than gratitude. It's recognizing, the
Yeah.
journey
Yes.
and the accomplishments and seeing it for what it really is, because it can get lost in the shuffle and often does if you don't take that time. And it's not ego. I don't know what it is. It's just acknowledgement of accomplishments.
I don't
And
think
my 8-year-old self would be stoked, man.
yeah, I don't think we do that enough. I think, like you said, I think we just put the blinders on and we're just like, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next thing? And you do have to kind of take a step back sometimes and look at how far you've come. You really have to. It's not, it's not a melancholy thing, or it's just an acknowledgement of, like, I know I've talked about this on the podcast and other episodes, but like I have grown more in the past 4 years than I had in the last 52 years.
Amazing, right?
Yeah, because I would have thought by now I would have been, I'd have everything I would need, but I still needed more to learn. And I'm still learning, and I'm never going to stop learning. And that's what's exciting about it, because there's more stuff on the horizon.
Yep.
Just last night, Kelly said to me, we were talking, and she said, Bill, did you ever stop and think, like, when you said the ad club that you were going to bring the podcast back, did you ever stop and think what makes you think you could do a podcast? Did you even think about that? And I went, no. I just knew I wanted to have conversations with people that I admire and talk to them about creativity. She's like, think about that. You just told the ad club, I'm coming back. I want to relaunch AdYack. And you did it. And I didn't even think about that. Because again, blinders, next episode, next guest, next this, let the be right. And I was like, oh yeah, I was like, you're right. I never really thought of that. It's because not everybody's comfortable doing this. Not everybody would be comfortable doing.
Very few people are, by the way. Very few people are. And there's a lot of people out there that have aspirations and do zero things about them for many different reasons. So yeah, when you make something happen, when there's something in your head that you turn into a reality, there needs to be a celebration of that.
I never stopped to think about, could I do it or not do it? I had the confidence to say, I'm going to do this. And then it just became like, get the theme song going from Dan Ross wrote the theme song, talk to some people ahead of time. Would you be on? Okay, sit tight. I got to work on. Yeah. Yeah. And to your point about being up on stage and having your background not working, you know, um, I had a really rough week this week. It was just a rough week. Nothing earth shattering. I just was tired and
Yeah.
but you know what? Professionals show up and they do the job no matter what kind of stuff is going on in their life because they know they have a job to do. And they know that I'm not going to come on this podcast and be like, hey, okay, how's it
So
going? Right? Show up, man.
snap
Show
out
up.
of it, Bill. Snap out
Right.
of it.
Right. Right. And funny point, now that I'm on here and I've been talking to you, I feel amazing. Now I
Oh,
feel like
good.
now I can go have my weekend and but like, prior to getting on, I was like, oh man, I can't believe we got to do this. Oh, I'm so tired. And why do we do that to ourselves?
I
Sabotage.
know.
And then I
Yeah,
get
it's
on, I
sabotage.
talk to you, and now I'm ready. Now I'm put back together.
Well, that is my third superpower.
I would
I can
agree.
bring that
Thank you.
out. You're
Thank you.
welcome. And also, let's not just gloss over the manifestation that has occurred. You manifested this, and that is real. It's real. You put forth the steps to make it happen. You didn't just think about it, but you manifested what you wanted to happen. And I think, people, they either don't believe in it or they think it's like,
Mhm.
hocus pocus kind of stuff, but it is real. Like when
Oh,
you
100%.
really want something, when you really want it, more than anything, I firmly believe you will get it. And that I've been like that with everything, my career, my education, my husband. When I want something, I get it. I work for it, but I will
Hmm.
get
Hmm. Oh, I totally believe in that because these past 4 years have shown me that. And just the things that I think about. I think that quote from The Secret: the things that you think about and think about, you bring about.
it. I forgot about that.
Hmm. And there's a trick with that because the secret stuff isn't just I want more money, and then it's like, where's my money? You gotta put the work in. You gotta put
Yeah,
the work in, right?
yeah,
You gotta be willing to go into those situations or when things aren't working out for you and still come out being like, nope, I'm grateful. I'm grateful. I'm grateful. And even when you know all that stuff, it still sometimes can trip you up.
yeah.
And you can kind of next thing you know, you find yourself, wrapping the chains and becoming like, all, you know, complaining about how the world isn't orchestrating itself to like, you you
Right.
know you have to like live into that gratitude first before the things can start coming your way. And that is one of the things that has totally happened to me for the past 4 years, to in a way that I'm still processing it.
It's pretty
Marrying
remarkable.
marrying
Mhm.
Kelly, getting the teaching role that I have at LCTI, the book that I'm finished and working on. I'm getting close to doing a potential voiceover, going into
Oh,
voiceovers.
that's great. That's awesome.
I'm working on all of it, and while at the same time moving my house. Years ago, this would have sunk me. All this stuff would have been too much. I would have been like, I'm done. I'm tapped
Right.
out. Too much. I'm done. Now it's just like, just let's go. Let's keep going. Because, like you said,
Right.
time is ticking.
Time is ticking. That is for sure. That's the one thing that doesn't change.
Hmm.
Time.
And I know it's a cliche, but life is short.
Whew. Yeah, my favorite aunt, it was my great aunt. She said to me, every decade goes faster than the one before. And I remember her saying that to me, and I was like 20 or something. And I'm like, you're ridiculous. But
Hmm.
she was spot on. Spot
Yeah.
on. It does every decade faster. It's amazing.
And speaking of time, we're about out of ours.
I know.
This was great. Thank you for
Yeah.
doing this. Like I said, I just had it just was a rough week. I just had a rough week, and I feel better now, having kind of
Oh,
talked to someone and shared some creative thought and some really interesting thoughts. The overthinking thing, I knew you were one, but like it's always nice when you can meet someone that understands that aspect
yeah.
of it and kind of, yeah. Thank you for
No,
doing
this was
it.
wonderful. Oh my gosh, thank you. I totally interrupted you. Thank you so much. I was really looking forward to this. And same thing, crazy week, crazy week. And this was a great
I
ending
want
to
to
my.
ask you one more question. What's
Sure.
the best piece of advice you ever got?
Ooh, best piece of advice. Um, I would have to say I've gotten a lot of advice, some solicited, some unsolicited. To know your value, always know your value. And that can come in many forms, in relationships and jobs, in dealing with people. You're worth it. You're just as valuable as the person standing next to you. And know that walking into a room or any space that you go into, that you have value and your story matters.
Where can people listen to the radio show?
Well, it's live. It's
Oh,
wxlv.com.
okay.
It's also on iHeartRadio. It's every Monday, 12 to 3. It's the Lunch Express.
Okay. The Lunch Express. So
The Lunch Express.
WXLV. Okay.
WXLV. And that's
Okay.
every Monday, 12 to 3. And actually, yeah, well, this is a podcast, but I had a great month. I'm having a great month. Some comedy gigs coming my way. Just coming my way. It's crazy. So very grateful for this stuff. So hopefully you'll see me on stage sometime soon.
Well, we're all on stage, right?
Yes, the world is our stage.
Kate, thank you.
Thank you.
Be
This was
well.
awesome.
Okay? All right.
Yeah, you too.
Take care.
Bye.
All right, AdYackers. Hope you enjoyed it, because we have many more great conversations planned and guests lined up ready to yak it up. AdYack is sponsored and produced by ASR Media. Theme song was written and performed by Dan Ross. Location recording was at JT Norman's Design Studio. AdYack is the official podcast of the AAF Greater Lehigh Valley Ad Club. Stay hungry, stay humble. Till next time.
This episode of AdYack is rated O for, oh man, that was good.